Välkommen till detta seminarium som Ova och jag arrangerar. Vi har äran att ha Taghreed Al-Masri närvarande som sitter i Gaza, och vi ska snart gå över till engelska, men jag ville bara köra den här presentationen på svenska. Welcome Taghreed. It's an honor to have you on from Gaza talking about children should carry books, not the burden of bombs and so on. And today that is the topic, and you will soon get the possibility to present yourself. But as most of you know, besides a genocide, one aspect of the genocide has often within academic and school circle has been to talk about a scholastic side, the destruction of infrastructure, killing of teachers, and so on. So this is in a sense the topic of today, but also the new possibilities that Taghreed will talk about in this horrible situation. But I will first give the floor to Ova that will give a short introduction. I don't know if it's in Swedish. I think it's in Swedish. Yes. And then we'll go over to Taghreed. Welcome.
Yes. Tack så mycket, kära vänner. Tack för att ni har tagit er tid att vara med oss ikväll. Vi samlas här för att prata om något som egentligen inte borde behöva diskutera. Varje barn har rätt till att leva, varje barns rätt att känna trygghet och varje barns rätt att få gå i skolan. Detta är inte bara en moralisk fråga, det är en rättighet. En rättighet som är inskriven i internationella rätten, i FNs barnkonvention, där det tydligt slås fast att varje barn har rätt till liv, till utveckling och till utbildning. Men när vi pratar om palestinska barn måste vi också vara ärliga. Detta handlar inte bara om det som har hänt sedan den 7 oktober 2023. Det handlar om en verklighet som har pågått i generationer. Sedan 1948 har palestinska barn vuxit under mycket svåra förhållanden, där tillgång till tryggheten, rörelsefriheten och utbildningen ofta har varit begränsat. Till exempel på Västbanken tvingas barn i vissa områden passera checkpoints, kontrollpunkter på väg till skolan. En väg som för många barn i världen är självklar är för andra fylld av osäkerhet. Och när vi ser på Gaza idag ser vi hur denna verkligheten har fördjupats dramatiskt. Enligt FNs humanitära rapportering har över 90% av Gazas skolor och mer än 500 av omkring 564 skadades eller fördärvats sedan 7 oktober 2023. Så vi kan tänka efter en stund vad det betyder. Det betyder att helt utbildningssystem i praktiken har slagits sönder. Och när en skola förstås förlorar barn inte bara ett klassrum, de förlorar en plats där de kan känna sig trygga, en plats där de kan vara barn, en plats där framtiden fortfarande känns möjligt. Samtidigt visar rapporten från FN-organen som till exempel Unicef att över 20 000 barn i Gaza har rapporterats döda sedan 7 oktober 2023. Men bakom varje siffra finns ett barn, ett namn, en familj, en dröm. Och därför vi måste stanna upp och fråga oss: vad betyder barnrättighet om de inte gäller överallt? Men mitt i detta ser vi också något annat. Vi ser lärare som vägrar ge upp. Vi ser undervisningar som fortsätter i tält, i tillfälliga klassrum, i enkla miljöer för att barn ska få fortsätta att lära. Det påminner oss om något djupt mänskligt. Att utbildningen inte bara är ett kunskap. Utbildningen är hopp. Utbildningen är värdighet. Och utbildningen är en handling av motstånd mot att framtiden tas ifrån barn. Det är därför vi samlas här idag. Inte bara för att prata, utan för att lyssna, för att förstå, för att påminna oss om att solidaritet inte är ett ord. Det är något vi gör. För i slutändan handlar detta om vilket samhälle vi vill vara med. Eller i. Ursäkta. En samhälle som blundar eller ett samhälle som ser, bryr sig och agerar. Men med detta i åtanke är jag väldigt glad att få vara här. Vi pratar om palestinska barn, om Gazas barn. Och stort ära att vi har Taghreed Al-Masri är med oss. Lärare från Gaza och del av Sanabels förening som arbetar för att ge barn möjlighet att fortsätta in sina utbildningar trots mycket svåra omständigheter. Så jag vill tacka för mig och jag kommer ju lämna ordet till Anders och till Taghreed. Tack så jättemycket.
So thank you very much, Orwell, for this short general introduction. And now I'll hand over to Taghreed, and you can present yourself a little bit and then about your work with children and schooling and so on. It's really a pleasure and honor to have you here. Please go ahead.
Hi, everyone. This is Taghreed Al-Masri. Happy to be here with you. I'm so proud that I'm today here to present our education experience in Gaza after the 7th of October and during the years of genocide and war. I'm Taghreed Al-Masri from the Gaza Strip. I'm from the middle area of the Gaza Strip. Before the war and until now, I used to be an English supervisor at the Ministry of Education. And at the same time, I worked as a lecturer at several universities in the Gaza, such as IUG, Israel University, Palestine University, Gaza University. I worked with some international organizations here, the Mid East and the British Council, as I worked as an IELTS examiner for some years. I also worked with within academic research projects with University of Glasgow and the University of Manchester. Recently, I've worked as the education manager at the Sanabel Association, in which I lead the schools and the education program that are opened during the war to respond for the emergency in education here in Gaza. So this is like an introduction for myself. So should I go now to my presentation? Okay. Now, I'll share my presentation with you, and I hope that it will not be long for you, okay? In this presentation, I hope I added some videos, which I hope that it will work in order to make our session more live. Okay, so okay. Okay, so before I start, I just want to give you the roadmap of my presentation. At the beginning, I will talk about the Sanabel Association in general and its programs, but that will be brief before I go directly towards talking about the education program and our response to the emergency in education here in Gaza. Okay, so the first thing is that I want to tell you who we are. The Sanabel Association, it was established back in 2021, that's before the war, and it is operating in Gaza and the West Bank. Actually, the programs that are included in the Sanabel Association include the health, relief, shelter, cash, economic empowerment, and of course, the education program. Education is considered as a strategic pillar in our association, and we focus on emergency education and community development. Actually, this association is officially licensed by the Turkish authorities and by the Palestinian Ministry of Interior. So it is fully legalized and acceptable to work in the Gaza Strip and the Turkish territories. And that's why we have verified bank accounts and official financial documents and donation channels. So I here show you the official Turkish account, and this is the Palestinian account to show that we are actually a legal association. Now, as I mentioned, I will quickly go through the programs. So we have the relief program, which in January alone served about 4,300 beneficiaries who received emergency assistance. When we talk about that, we talk about cash assistance. So we try to help people in need by giving them cash to help them in their life. We have shelter assistance, especially in the winter storms when people lost their tents or their humble places that they live in after the displacement. Clothes, for example, food rations, and place renovations. Also, we have in the health program. In the health program in January alone, we served about 8,800 beneficiaries, and that's through the emergency surgeries, emergency department, and ophthalmology, eye department, which we actually operate in hospitals, in local hospitals here in Deir al-Balah, in Khan Yunis, and one in Gaza. Now, the third program is the orphan program, in which we serve 300 beneficiaries. We have children supported through orphan care activities that I will talk about as part of the education response later. Now, for the orphans, what we offer them education, we offer them psychosocial support activities, healthcare, monthly pocket money, and family support. You can look here at the photos that represent our activities during the previous or recent times. So the first one refers to the shelters. We have here water, clean water, and
Taghreed, sorry. We see just slide rebuilding education under crisis. You haven't moved.
Yeah. Okay, so these photos show you the activities that we cover in our association. Now, we have also the economic empowerment program, in which we try to help people also and support them. But now I want to focus on the education program, which is actually the focus of this seminar. So in order to, one of the questions that Urwa asked me earlier is about the current situation in Gaza. So maybe the schools that I will talk about go back to 2024 and 2025, but this video has been registered or recorded in 2026. So shall we just watch it, because it's only half a minute or something like that? Okay.
Agreed. We only see the introduction slide on your PowerPoint. We don't
Which
see
one?
any. The first one, rebuilding education under crisis. Nothing else.
Oh, really? Okay, I'll stop sharing and share again. Is it okay?
Yeah.
Because sometimes it happens. Okay, I'll share this again. Because the video, I think it's informative and will show the situation here. Okay. Can you see the video?
Now, yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So this video, just to tell you, it is translated into English, but it talks about a group of students who are talking about their destroyed school. Okay, and they ask for help to regain their right to education. Okay, so I hope it will be clear for you now. Just let me know. Okay. So this group of children are talking about their desire to go back to their school, which has been destroyed. Okay. Now, I hope that this represents for you the situation even right now, especially in Gaza city and the north of Gaza. So what happened for education in Gaza after the war or during the war? The education crisis in Gaza is unprecedented. According to the UNICEF 24-25 and education cluster reports, because we have an education cluster actually led by the UNICEF, the damage is not temporary, but a structural collapse of the education system. Now, if we want to talk about the impact of war in numbers, from the beginning of the war, about 750,000 of children were out of school. And until now, over 90% of schools either damaged or destroyed, even either partially or totally. About 75 of them were destroyed totally. Schools now, those remained schools were converted into shelters for displaced people. And no matter how much the senior citizens here in the South tried to ask them to leave, it was difficult to make them leave the schools because they have no place to go to. The UNICEF reports estimate that 2-year war resulted in 5 years of learning loss. So you can imagine how those children, even if the child is at the 6th grade, actually his mentality and his knowledge in education is only like a child at the 2nd grade. Okay. Now, international reports repeatedly stress the urgent need to prioritize education in humanitarian response, and they ask and seek immediate actions to restore learning and rebuild system. At the beginning of the war, what happened is that all organizations, they cared only about life-saving operations, like in the health sector, in the food sector, in the shelter sector. Nobody cared about education at that time. They thought that education is not important. We can put it aside and just focus on the humanitarian basic needs. But actually, that wasn't a good attitude. Now in Sanabil, we decided that our job our duty is to regain education for those students. We started with establishing temporary learning sites, and those are makeshift tents actually. And we are still in those tents until now, though we expanded our response. Now, what we offer on those learning spaces, we actually offer education, we offer learning loss recovery programs, we offer psychosocial support for students, and creative and skills-based activities. Now, in our schools, we served about 20,000 students until now. This year, for example, now while I'm talking to you, we are serving 10,000 students in Khan Yunis, Deir al-Balah, and Gaza City. Now, to our 4 learning spaces, we have actually about 230 educational staff, and we have strategic partnerships, especially with the Ministry of Education, the UNICEF, and other international and local organizations to support those students in our temporary learning sites. Now, let me tell you about our first success model. Number 1 is establishing the tents. Now, when we decided to establish those tents, we actually started with the 12th grade students back in October 2024. At that time, nobody cared about the children, just the students at the 12th grade, because they were at the last year of their secondary school, after which they could join the universities. So that's why we started our temporary learning site actually with 2 tents. Only 2 tents, because we thought that the students will be afraid and scared of coming to those tents to learn, because it was the wartime. There wasn't a ceasefire. But what surprised us is that more and more students started to come to our tents, and that's why we had to expand our response and to add more tents to offer places and opportunities, educational opportunities for those students. That actually learning site expanded to become another learning site in the Gaza Strip. I hope that you can see my screen. Okay. Now, after that, when we noticed that people started to become aware of the importance of education and bringing the children back to the school, we started to open classes for the elementary children, elementary school children, and primary school children, and that you can look at their faces. These are our children in our schools. Actually, this time the war was still going on, but they thought that the school was a safe place for them, and they decided to come no matter what. Here the girls in one of the sessions for psychosocial support, in which they are drawing and expressing their feelings and their fears and their hopes. So you would feel that their faces actually reflect their happiness of being at school. So they are not forced, not like in ordinary days when you force your children to go to school. Those children came to our temporary learning sites because they wanted that. They wanted to escape the war and the news about the war and the bombing everywhere, and to come to school, to the extent that even if there was a kind of bombing around our areas, okay, they didn't care, because they thought that they were safe inside those temporary learning sites. Even if those temporary learning sites, or let me say TLSs from now on, you understand me, okay? They are safe even if they are in the middle of the bombing and the war. Now, okay. Now, another model that we try to apply in our schools is the diagnostic assessment. So at the beginning of the year, we offer our students diagnostic assessments in order to understand more about the learning loss and the learning gap that they have. once we identify those weaknesses, okay, we target them with remedial programs. And after the remedial programs, we go back and assist them to understand how much they gained and recovered. So we found that 20% of academic improvement has been achieved, which we considered as marvelous, actually excellent result because of all that that we live in. Now we noticed that about 92.8% of the students' attendance increased despite the crisis and despite the bombing and the displacement. So actually more displaced students came to our area and they wanted to join us and to join our TLSs because they thought that it is their opportunity to regain their right and to feel like a kind of routine in their life and to get rid of the burden of that war. Okay, and these are photos actually from our TLSs, and you can see here one of our teachers is working on the learning loss, while here the results of our children after they improved and they got good marks actually. Okay, now another model that I personally focused on in our TLSs is the psychosocial support for students. So our TLSs weren't only about education, weren't only about knowledge, because that could be actually recovered, that could be restored. But what I wanted to focus on more is that our children were traumatized and we needed to support them. We needed to make them feel happy. Even we played music for them in our TLSs. We made them sing and dance because we thought some people criticized us for that, and they thought that it's not the time to make the children laugh and dance and sing. But I insisted that we continue with this approach because at the beginning of joining the TLSs, you would find that those children are aggressive and they fight all the time and they have this black actually vision of the whole world. They think that they are about to die. So they come just to change routine, but they don't want to learn. They don't want to get engaged in their studies. That's why we had to revert to the psychosocial support in order to give them hope, to make them feel that there is still life. Yes, we lost about 22,000 school children in the genocide, and about 32 or 35 of those school children got injured some way or another. Many of them lost their parents, their family members. So they were desperate, frustrated, and they thought that they will also die. So we wanted to implant hope inside their hearts before we work on the knowledge gap. Okay, so also this is a photo that I took for one of our actually initiatives that was supported by Malmo people. It was from Karen B. Folk Högskola, and Henning was an amazing man with Dr. Ali Abu Hadrous, who decided to support the orphans with us, and they sent a sum of money by which we bought school bags and stationery for our children. We also offered them psychosocial activity that made them happy, and actually I should thank them because they also supported us buying some kind of food for those children during the starvation period. And that's what I want to talk about, because especially for the orphans, we opened that school, the Vista School for Orphans, exactly at the time of the starvation and the famine. And that was a critical period where students couldn't find, those children couldn't find anything to eat at home. So when they came to our TLS, we offered them not only education, because I told you, I put it like a second or third rank at that time, but psychosocial support and also the food that they could have, even one of the stories that, if you want me to say a story about one of my children, not my children, but I say my children because those are in my school. Okay, one of the children came at the noon, actually, with his afternoon with his mother. He's an orphan, and when they reached the school, they collapsed. It was hot. It was summertime. It was hot, and they had nothing to eat in their place for 3 days. So when they reached the school, they just collapsed. So we had to take care of them, to give them food, water, until they refreshed, and they managed actually to stand again on their feet. After that, they came every day to school, not only to get education, but also to get food. Unfortunately, that was the starvation time where we all actually suffered on that time. Okay, and this is one of the activities of the psychosocial support, in which we allowed the children to talk about their worries, about their despair, about their fears, and about their hopes, of course, and what they want this life to give them. Another activity here where they play, and we make them listen to music and to songs and to dance, actually. And here, every time they accomplished something, we actually rewarded them to make them feel that they achieved something and they still have hope and life in this miserable world. Okay, and here another one where they draw. We focus a lot on the drawing and arts in order to give the chance to express their feelings and to vent out all the fears that they have. Okay, and this is a video, another short video. I hope that you will bear with me because I keep showing them. Actually, these videos always touch my heart and make me feel like sad or highly emotional. Here in this video, you will see these children after a year of being in our TLS, okay, talking about their hopes, not about their fears. If you talk to them, if you remember the first video, it was talking about their despair, about their misery, about their longing to go back to their school. But look at these children who spent a year in our TLS. This is a video that was recorded at the end of 2025. So this is actually what you gain when you bring those children back to their school and to the class desks and away from the burdens of the war. It's enough for their families to care about the war and the miseries or the displacement and the need for basics such as potable water or food. But those children deserve to be in their schools where they regain their education and have the opportunity to express themselves. Okay, so sorry. Now, another program that I personally led is the training program. As a graduate from the University of Manchester, actually, I got into contact with my professors back there, and I proposed to them a program in which we work with the university students because they also suffered a lot. As a lecturer at university and via online classes, I found that they suffered a lot and they needed something like face-to-face classes. So with support of Dr. Richard from Manchester and a group of our professors, we offered those training programs in freelancing and English. and we try to help them gain remote work skills. Despite the limited resources, and the place is only a tent actually, which is very hot in summer and cold in winter, I found that more and more university students come to our program and ask to record with it. Okay, so this is me teaching here, okay, and this is my group, and you can notice that this is the tent, okay. I even carried my tools, the lid, the LCD, okay, and tried to teach them with the simplest material, okay. And these are university students. I hope that my screen is visible for you, right? Okay. And this is a photo of them, and you can notice the smiles on their faces. You can't imagine on the first day you meet those children and those students, they are pale, their faces are pale and frustrated and depressed. But later, after you work with them, day after day after day, you offer them the opportunity to express themselves and to talk about their life, okay, here in English, of course, you would find that you actually draw a smile on their faces. So that's why education is so important. That's why schools are so important. It's not only about knowledge. It's not only about information, okay? And this actually a twinning program that I led with the Manchester MA, TESOL MA students, okay, in which we connected a group of university students with a group of MA students in Manchester. And that was the closing, actually, session with them. So it was an amazing program that actually connected between our university students and the world. That's why we called it Voices Beyond Borders, because we gave our students the opportunity to talk to the world away from the borders and the closure and the siege. And we gave the opportunity for international students to enter Gaza and to listen to the stories of North. Okay. I talked about the orphan village, and I said that we offer them education from KG1 to the 5th grade. We offer them psychosocial and social support and nutrition when resources are available, and that proved to be a successful program because it actually attracted more and more orphans to be with us, okay? Now we have a new program. I'm heading towards the end before you get bored of me, okay? So actually now we are offering students, a group of students, a new project, which is I Am a Reader. We target 100 gifted children aged from 6 to 11, and those their IQ is above 120 according to Raven test. We work with them to develop their thinking, creativity skills, and to advance their reading skills. So not only to work with the learning loss and with the students who, poor students who suffer from not being able, who are to some extent illiterate actually, but also we recognized this group of talented children in order to work with them and to bring them to a higher level. And we hope that with the support, with the finding enough financial support, we will take them to the specialized clubs in which they will focus on their talent only. Okay, so why do we invest in gifted children? Gifted children, actually, I consider them as future leaders, and usually we neglect them in a crisis settings, and that's what happened for 2 years. We didn't focus on those talented children, but now we are focusing on them. The talent is not only related to reading and to mathematics, Okay, yes, they are important and we focus on them, but we also recognize those with beautiful voices who want to sing. We recognize those who have the art, actually drawing, actually talents, and the ability for public speaking. So we try to locate them and work with them. Now, our future vision, what do we want for the future? Of course, rebuilding Gaza's education system and expanding, creating a non-formal education, TLSs. That's why we are actually now heading towards opening other 4 new TLSs, one in Rafah in the far south, and 2 in the Gaza city, and 1 in the north. Hopefully, we will be able to equip them with furniture and educational material. Now, we also try to invest in teachers and to connect students with the global opportunities, as I'm offering my new group of university students another program connecting them with Manchester students. Now, what do we need? Our needs to develop our educational points. We have, as I said, we need to establish more temporary learning spaces, because even after the ceasefire and until now, no specific organization is capable of offering full opportunities for education for all displaced children in different sites. Even according to the cluster report that I received today, the education cluster report, we managed to reach, with all those TLSs, we managed to reach about 300,000 children, which is only 50% of the school children, or those who are supposed to be at a school. Now we also need to actually improve school infrastructure for a safe and inclusive environment. We need to expand WASH facilities and ensuring accessibility for children with disability. Now, just to focus on the WASH facilities, because we have about 3,000 children in one school, like the primary school. So we have high demand on the WASH facilities, also on potable water. You know, it's difficult for families to get potable water. So when we provide the school with this potable water, we notice that the children bring empty bottles of water with them to fill with potable water from school and to take back to their families. So that's why we invest actually in drinkable water for the children, because we understand this disparate need. So we don't want them and their family to send the children themselves to the desalination water stations to get water. We bring water for them so they can stay at school, learn, and take the water with them back to their school with dignity, without having to fight and to queue in lines that are sometimes dangerous. Okay. Now, for disabilities, maybe near the end, I'll tell you why I want to ensure accessibility for children with disabilities. I'll tell you a story, but a little bit later. We want to create safe play areas for psychosocial support, because usually the TLSs are in narrow places. So we need to expand that and to create play areas where children are allowed to jump, to run, to laugh, and to play as much as they want. Oh, definitely. We need teacher capacity development. You know, we lost about 1,000 teachers during the genocide. And today we hire newly graduate teachers who don't have any experience. So that's why we need to offer them training to help them understand how to deliver education in conflict and crisis settings. And here we want to focus in a trauma-responsive teaching methods. So teaching during the war is totally different from teaching before the war. It's a total difference, actually. So that's why we need to build the capacity, especially that those teachers, they have they work in resource limited environments. So sometimes the teacher doesn't have the pen, doesn't have the books actually, or the learning material to use. So even their mobiles, they need to send their mobiles to stations, private stations, to recharge in order to use. So in such an environment, we feel that it is our responsibility as organizations and institutions to support those teachers, to help them actually deliver better and to respond. Another actually point related to teacher capacity development is that at the beginning, when we hired those teachers, we thought that we are bringing adults, mature people, to support the children, the traumatized children. But later we discovered that those supporters are actually also traumatized. They are either displaced or lost family members, or actually suffer from like frustration and despair. So we found that they also were aggressive and couldn't bear the children and their energy. So I had to work with some organizations, ask them to come and work on psychosocial support, not for children only, but also with the teachers themselves. So that's why now we need to build a strategy or a vision how to support the supporters and how to help them actually understand what to do with the children, especially those children who lose their families. Okay, also we need to provide them with essential teaching materials and learning. Okay, now for student and family needs, there are many needs for them, like providing them with learning material and school supplies, especially for children at the first, the second, the third level, in which we think that those learning materials are important for them to teach them how to read and write. Also, sometimes at the beginning of the year, we try to get into contact with different organizations to give school bags and essential stationery, to get nutritious snacks for them, to give them clothing and shoes. So we try to respond in a comprehensive way, okay? So you can't open a TLS just to transfer knowledge. No, it's not about transferring knowledge. You have to understand that you need to comprehensive in your response and to focus on every aspect of this child in order to create this harmony in your TLS. Now for the teachers also, okay, we have outstanding students, and actually today I got like support from the organization, from Sanabel, to give like rewards for those outstanding students who participate in talented actually activities. Supporting remedial classes, food parcels, hygiene kits, and cleaning supplies are also considered important. And definitely for the orphans, we try to offer sponsorship programs where we provide financial support for orphans through monthly sponsorship. Okay. Now, staff motivation and support, unfortunately, some of those volunteer teachers, they have no financial actually security. They don't have any income. So that's why we need sometimes to help them get some incentives to support their families, at least, not something more. We don't want them to become rich, but just to support their families. Okay. So what is our closing message? In Gaza, education is not only about learning, it's about protection.
Did we lose Taghreed?
I think so. I will write her and what's up? Yeah, I think so. Jag tror det. Så kanske hon loggar in så småningom ifall. Jo. Men jag tänkte...
Jag vet inte ifall någon av er, vi är så få nu och jag känner till er allihopa, så om det är någon som har frågor eller något sånt, någon reflektion över detta. Jag hade tänkt att fråga henne som första fråga, vad kan vi göra och vilket stöd behöver de för att fortsätta detta fantastiska arbete?
Jag går i samma tankar.
Yes, here she is again.
Här kommer hon. Welcome back, Taghreed.
Yeah, I was lucky to be back again. Okay, so it's only the last slide. Okay, shall I share it with you?
Yes.
Yes, please. Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so this is the last video in which we regained hope for those children after establishing TLS for them in the western area of Gaza city after the ceasefire back in October. Okay, so look at them. They are the same children that we started our video with, our presentation with.
We don't see the video. It's the same problem as from the start. We see a photo of. We don't see the video. We just see
the picture.
Can you see the picture?
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, they are the same children before and after. Okay. So look at them.
Yeah, we don't see the video. We just see the slide, not the video.
Okay, okay. Let me just stop. Okay, I will stop sharing and then share again. Okay.
Yes.
Just raise your thumb if you see everything, okay? Okay. That's all from my side. If you wanted to listen to the story I told you about, maybe during the discussion, I can tell you such a story. It's just I don't want to make you feel bored. So
we haven't felt any boredom. It's a fantastic presentation. Thank you very much. And when you're sitting, as I normally do in Sweden, we see all the horrible things of the genocide and so on. And this presentation is a small but important light in all the horrible things we've seen going on in Palestine and so on. A general question I have that follows on that. What can we do from Sweden and civil society and activist organizations from the universities and so on to support this kinds of fantastic projects?
Yeah, actually, the whole world and from Sweden, I hope that we can support those education spaces. Usually at the beginning when we started our temporary learning sites, it wasn't that expensive, but later, like I'll give you an example of the school of ghost children. It took us about 5 months to be able to construct such a temporary learning site. So supporting building temporary learning sites is a good start, actually. This will give more and more displaced students, especially those in camps, where they don't have any access to education, the opportunity to go back to their schools. One of my friends, like I showed her a video of the children sitting on the ground and actually suffering in order to write and to study. And she decided to support us with furniture for those 2 classes. I usually don't ask for a lot, actually, even if it is one aspect, one tent, one group of students to be supported. This I consider as a success. So that's why I think that the word, and you back from Sweden, you can help us with offering education opportunities for more and more students by giving us the chance open more learning spaces for them.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Ni kan skriva på svenska, you can write in Swedish, eller talk in Swedish, we'll translate.
You were going to tell us a story. Can we hear it now?
Yeah, actually, I have a story when I talked about access to disabled children. You know, our schools, because they are not in the normal areas, but in destroyed areas. So you would find that the route towards the school is not well constructed. So I used to go to one of the schools in Deir al-Balah, and we had those twins, okay, 2 boys. They were at the 9th grade, and one of them was a quiet and a disciplined child, while the other was ill-disciplined, actually, and he caused us a lot of discipline problems. So I used to tell him that just because of your disciplined brother, I will allow you to stay with us. So just behave yourself. Now, after a while, I was busy and away from this school because I was busy with other schools. When I came back, I saw him. So I started laughing at him and nagging him as usual, but he didn't laugh. He said nothing, and his teachers told me that now he's so quiet. So it was like shocking for me. Why? But the news was more shocking, actually. I knew that his twin was walking in the street, and there was bombing in that street, and he lost his 2 legs. So his 2 legs were amputated. Now, the sad part of that story is that when he recovered and he managed, because we gave him a wheelchair, so he managed to reach the gates of our school. And every time I went out to talk to him, he said, I want to go back to school. Just let me in. But actually, because of the entrance, which is not well constructed, I couldn't bring him in. We carried him twice or 3 times inside the school, but that wasn't enough, and it was difficult. and because of the sand, it's the sand area. I'm sorry for that. It's just when I remember his story, it just makes me feel really sad, because I feel furious and angry when I try to help one of those students, and I couldn't help him. So now he's staying at home because I couldn't find him a way to reconstruct the road to our school and to actually put tiles for his wheelchair to reach his classroom and to get his opportunity to study. This is one of the heartbreaking stories that amid all that success that I'm proud of, I found myself a failure, actually. And there are many other similar stories. Some of them are like this, sad and heartbreaking. Others, actually, to make you happy. They are happy stories in which the children came and made remarkable changes in their personalities and become success. Okay. I'm sorry for becoming emotional. I hope
Please
that,
don't be sorry for that.
yeah, it's just I see his image inside my eyes because every time I go to school, I see him in the street waiting for us to give him access. Just give him access. That's all. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? You said you are working with Manchester University and so on. Is that about teacher training, or is it about facilitating for university students, or what are the more concrete things you are doing with Manchester University?
Yeah, actually, until now, we've been working with the university students to equip them with the English skills to be able to express themselves and to talk to the world and to convey the message of Gaza to the world. And in our twinning program, we tried to offer them the opportunity to exchange culture, especially with not only English students, but actually also Chinese and Asian students. So that was like a rare opportunity for them. But in our next action, we are offering training for, because if you remember, I talked about supporting the supporters. We are offering training course for teachers.
Okay.
Ja, vi tappat bort den när det är jättedålig teknik hos dem, så det är ju svåra omständigheter.
Men samtidigt fantastiskt att vi har kunnat hålla på i en dryg timme och kunnat lyssna på henne.
Men jag tycker ju det är värt också att vi, alltså typ, att jag nämner, bara sammanfatta det på svenska, det viktigaste som hon, Taghreed, har tagit upp, att det syftet över skolorna, alltså typ klassrum som hon har kämpat på, det är ju till exempel att dela vatten till familjer där då eleverna eller barnen slipper den här osäkerhet för att hämta vatten, alltså från vattenkällor där i skolan. De hämtar tomma flaskor så de kan komma tillbaka hem efter skoldag med fulla flaskor med vatten. Det är så berörande och så fantastiskt arbete som ger barnen inte bara utbildning, kunskap, däremot en trygghet och säkerhet. Så,
Ja, jag tänkte att vi kanske någon gång skulle diskutera om vi inte inför en av våra demonstrationer kunde göra en insamling för dem. För att det som jag tyckte var så imponerande med deras arbete är just det att de tänker hela paketet, så att säga. inte bara utbildning utan också att ta igen utbildning etc. Mat, funktionsnedsättning, familjerna, lågstadiet upp till universitetet. Så det är liksom det är en helhetsperspektiv. I was just saying that what I really liked with what you are doing is your holistic perspective on education as a central part, but connected to all about psychological support, family support, and so on. So we were really impressed with your work.
Thank you.
I don't know if there are other questions or reflections to Taghreed. Or
There is time. I would love to hear more.
Anything particular you would like to hear, Sima?
Everything that you say is amazing. So whatever you think is important. Taghreed.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe talking about what we need here back in education, because as I mentioned earlier, many organizations think that life-saving operations are more important than education. This is why in Sanabil, we are trying to make our whole focus is on education. We coordinate with the Ministry of Education, with the UNICEF, and hopefully with different parts to support education, because we want to open more and more learning spaces. And of course, opening the learning spaces doesn't mean that you only build the tents and you leave, because you need to take care of those tents, of those children, and of those teachers. So that's why I spent most of my time actually conquering and experience with different proposals. Hopefully that I get support from different parties in order to support different aspects of the education process, because we need running costs for every TLS that we open. And the idea is that those TLSs and even the Ministry of Education, they don't have real access to resources. But because we gained the reliability, and now through the education cluster, we are well known for being honest and decent in our interventions. So, you know, even the latest intervention from the UNICEF, they are offering tents, okay, of high quality. And they don't offer them to anyone or to any initiative or partner, just those partners that they trust. So when the Minister of Education applied for getting tents, and I applied for getting tents, I got about 46 tents, while the Minister of Education got 10 tents, because they knew that once we get those tents, we will make sure that we install them and they are used only for education purposes. And that's actually the aim and the goal now here in Gaza. After this kind of relative stability that we have now after the ceasefire, okay, despite of the bombing here and there and killing people, especially on the yellow line or near the yellow line. And I'll tell you a story which is far away from the yellow line. Okay, you heard of the yellow line, right? Okay, the yellow line is that line that is imaginary line drawn by the Israeli occupation, which people, the Palestinian people, are not allowed closer to it. And if you are even 200 meters or 500 meters
Anders, din mick är stoppat.
Det verkar som uppkopplingen är mer och mer.
Ja.
Så
Ja.
jag tror vi ska avsluta nu, men jag tror flera av er som är med idag, ni är också på olika med i solidaritetsrörelsen och fundera på om vi kan göra någonting för att stödja detta fantastiska projektet. Men jag tror vi avslutar för idag. Tack för att ni kom och lyssnade. Och som sagt, vi har spelat in det, eller om vi har spelat in det så ni får gärna meddela andra om ni tyckte detta var intressant. Jag tyckte det var superintressant att man om en vecka eller något sådant kan se det på Stoppa Israels YouTube-kanal.
Ja.
Tack så hemskt mycket. Det var otroligt starkt.
Ja.
Jättefint.
Tack så jättemycket för er alla, och jag hoppas att ni kan sprida det så alltså, vi kan stödja sådana här meningsfulla projekter. Där kan man verkligen hjälpa alla, så stort tack.
Glöm inte att nästa månad samma sak, tredje tisdagen i månaden, så har vi ett nytt program och så syns vi på gator och torg och digitalt i kampen för ett fritt Palestina.
Ja, tack.
Tack.